Hello there, I want to show how you can do a modification to the Alesis dm10 and convert this into a mesh head. I'm waiting for one to come through the post. I bought it on eBay for the 8-inch kick and for the 4 toms they are 8-inch. But you can also do this, this modification to reduce the sound. Again, underneath this pad here you will have a metal plate and it's quite noisy when you hit that, as you probably found out. I'll show you on my snare. I've converted that to a mesh head. There's one or two tutorials from Hellfire. I think he showed about taking out resistors there, desoldering resistors and changing the layout of the foam underneath. Now I've not desoldered resistors on my snare and I found that has worked perfect, but again some of you guys may know that you need to take the resistor out. I'll explain how it works and what I've done. You will need to cut yourself an 7.5 inch piece of plastizote, also known as funky foam. This, but again, it's just a foam. It doesn't. This is just a colour. It doesn't matter about the colour. I think it comes in a range of colours. But that is going to raise the piezo transducer closer to the head, so you get a better response. So, without further ado, if I show you how to take this apart, what's inside, and then it's really easy to do. Don't be afraid of trying to take it apart. As long as you don't catch the wires or pull anything too hard, you can't really break anything inside. Now, behind the 4 bolts on the 8-inch, so on the 4 toms and the kick pad, you've got obviously the drum bolts in there. Now, a thing to watch out for underneath the bolts, there are just nuts, M6 nuts. So make sure you don't lose them, because when you unscrew the bolts, they will just fall out. Okay, they're not held in. I'll take off the pad and the rim. Now, underneath the layout, you will have, first off, again, there's plastizote or funky foam. That's about 3 or 4 mil thick, and underneath that there is a metal plate. And then there's a CD size piece of plastic underneath there, and in the centre is a piezo transducer. Now, basically, all that piezo transducer does is a brass plate with a piezo crystal on it, and when it senses vibration, it sends a current down the wires, which will go to the drum brain, and that's how the electric kit works, basically. On V drums, it works with a conical piece of sponge with a piezo transducer underneath, and Alesis have decided to do it this way. It works rather well. I've had a HD one before, you've probably seen my other videos, but this kit is far superior and should be worth a lot more than the 500 quid that I paid for it second hand, and I've had it about a month or so now, but the sounds are really good. And I've also hooked up to Easy Drummer. I'm going to put some more tutorials on there to show the sounds on Easy Drummer. But where was I? Right, so anyway, this top piece of foam, I said, is glued to the metal plate. You don't need to take that apart from the metal plate. All I'm going to do now is take the hoop off, the wooden hoop. That just slides, not glued in. Anyway, that comes out. Underneath the metal plate, you will get, you'll get a piece of foam. Now, I've already cut this. I've already put a slot in there, but that will come like so. The circle in the middle, I think some models come as a solid piece of foam, but mine came with this, it's about 3-inch hole in there. So is that. And underneath is this white piece of foam, which isn't as dense as this bottom bit. And again, a hole in there where the wire will go through. I've just got a little slot in there. There's a slightly different layout, sorry, slightly different foam, should I say. Same layout, but slightly different foam on the snare drum. I think there's a hole that goes through the middle, but it's the same way on every single pad. So the layout is going to be, so this foam I've cut. I have the luxury of having a laser cutter at the school I teach at, and I've cut this to 7.5 mil, 7.5 inch, or in metric, that's 190 mil diameter, and I've cut myself a slit in there, basically so the wires can fit through. So that will go on the base. Place that through the wires like so. Then we need to put the white foam. Now, because the first way this was laid out, I just moved myself, my legs are hurting here. That hole there is so the piezo transducer doesn't get crushed. Now, that is going to go on the top layer. That it's going to be that bottom piece of foam, then the white foam, then the metal plate, then on top of that it's going to be the black foam. Now, it's good to cut yourself a little slot on there. Sorry, a hole, not a slot. So the piezo transducer isn't compressed in any way. It's free to move around. Now, I've seen tutorials, there's Hellfire and other people on there said that has to be a CD size. Now, all I've done is put that on top of there, because if it's that size when it's manufactured, well, that one should be the same size just so the piezo doesn't get crushed. So I've just got a pencil, I've drawn around it. It's a nice light foam. You can just cut yourself. That centre bit out. Try and do a better job than what I'm doing. So, there's a slat so the piezo transducer can sit freely. That can be placed. Second layer, plate on top, and then your black film on top of there, and then you can start constructing that back together. Now, the Hellfire tutorial says you have to desolder resistors in there. For my snare, obviously I will show another video of that working. I'm going to make another one after this, but you'll just assemble that back together, and it should work. I will show you afterwards. Just come to my little music room, and this is the conversion I've done for the snare with the mesh head on. And if you look close, you can see the black hole there, so that's the top layer. And I've laid that out exactly the same way as I've done the kick pad. Now, another modification I've done as well, because when I play my acoustic kit, I like to do a rim shot. Put it on there, obviously very loud. So I've just put myself a rubber rim. Now, I went to a DIY shop in England called B&Q, and I think it's about, put it on there, it's about an 8mm tubing. I got a metre of it. I cut a slit all the way around the tubing, and because of the way the rim is, it's got that little lip on it, and you push that over. Show this, sorry. You push that over. It stays on there securely. Now, I wrapped the rubber ring all the way around and cut it with a Stanley knife for the perfect circumference of this. And I've just got some gaffer tape just to tape it up. Not the most aesthetically pleasing, but again, it does the job. I tried to look on eBay for some V-drum hoops. I think they're about 10 quid a pop. For those, so quite expensive. I don't know if I'll do them for the rims on here yet, so I don't really hit the rims that much on the rest of the kit there. But if I show you a test, a sound test as well. There's the rim shot. That compared to a pad on here. Obviously very quiet, and I think it's got a better feel as well once you get the mesh head pad. Obviously the metal plate underneath, I don't know, they're trying to sell it to say it's more like an acoustic kit, but because that metal plate underneath, it's not got the same give, to be honest. But the modification on the kick drum that I've done there, because you've got that foam, the same foam as this underneath, that will give a bit more deflection and feel more realistic. So if you don't want to put the mesh heads on, you want to keep the mylar heads on, by all means, this modification will do both. So I hope it's helped. Of course, it's been trial and error for me, but I say it's worked rather well. Please, any questions, post, and I'll try and get back to you.